Okay, so to fix the front of her right hip pain, I asked her to get into a wide stance and then asked her to shift her weight all the way to the right side, keeping her knees right above the ankles to make this as glute dominant as possible, and then asked her to hold it for about 10 seconds at a time for about 10 reps. And that's all she had to do to get better. So spend a few minutes and you will know why this exercise worked for her and why it may work for you. Hi all, my name is Manny. I am a physical therapist and this is a story about how I helped my colleague Kelly to fix the front of her right hip pain. Okay, so Kelly came to see me because, well, I'm a damn good therapist. Okay, not only that, but she came to see me because it was free of charge. And her story is that she had been experiencing right hip pain for a while now, maybe a couple years, but it exacerbated 2 weeks ago, maybe because she went on a long road trip and made things worse. After she told me this, I wanted to figure out what was going on. And honestly speaking with you, figuring things out in terms of what was going on with her was a bit complicated. It wasn't straightforward, so maybe you might relate to this. So to start, I just had her lay on her back and then I checked her hip range of motion. Internal rotation was good, external rotation was good. And then I checked the integrity of her hip out and that was also good. So there was nothing really to go after in terms of the integrity of her hip joint. So at this point, I figured, well, might as well check her soft tissues, especially the area that she finds painful. So she points to her TFL and then I poke around there and she wasn't particularly sensitive or tender at all, so I had nothing there. So then I figured, okay, might as well check her quad and then hamstring length, and of course I got nothing there. And at this point I'm starting to figure out, oh, she must be one of those. There are a few people that it can be very hard to tease out what exactly is going on. So I got nothing on the table, so I asked her, all right, come on up and let's go through some functional testing. Okay, so when she came up, I had her just go right into her squat. I looked at her squat and of course her squat looks good. Of course it looked good. In fact, it looked better than mine, and honestly every time I see that I get a little bit upset. That ankle mobility was amazing. The right hip was fine, so I got nothing there either. Okay, so now at this point I figured, well, might as well have her walk. Now I gotta be honest, y'all, I'm a PT, Kelly's a colleague, so I've seen her walk before, and as a PT I unconsciously analyze everybody's gait, but I needed to buy myself some time, so I asked her to walk the plank pretending that I'm looking at her gait. Well, I was, but really I was buy myself a little bit more time to think. She goes for the walk and she's walking the plank. I'm looking at her walk and I'm half looking at her, half thinking, and when looking at her walk, her knees knocking a tad bit, not a lot, but I file that in the back of my mind because it's not exactly causing her pain, right? But I keep that in the back of my mind in case there's some glute weakness here. So I figured, okay, let's tease out the glute. Let's just tease out the glute. To tease out the glutes, I asked her to stand on the right leg, holding the left leg out to the side, and to show me a glute dominant squat. Surprisingly, her one-legged glute dominant squat looked better than I expected, especially based off of the walking mechanics that I just observed. And of course, I couldn't reproduce anything here. Hey, she was fine, the hip was fine. And at this point, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was kind of sweating here a bit. And it didn't help me either when my brain started to laugh at me a bit. I thought you were a good PT, but you can't even help this lady. Now I'm telling my brain, okay, shut up and help me concentrate here. Mostly because it's taking me 45 minutes for what I thought would take about 10 minutes to do. And right about now, it's around 4:45 p.m. It's getting close to my dinner time and I'm getting really hungry right now. So I say to myself, all right, brain, concentrate, you got this. So I got nothing checking the glute, so I figured why not check her anterior capsule, check what's going on in front of the hip. So I asked her to stay on that right leg, reach up and overhead with both hands as she reaches forward with her left leg and toe taps extending through the hips. Of course, her functional hip extension looked amazing here. I didn't reproduce any symptoms, so I got nothing here at all. So now at this point, she's looking at me with a blank face thinking, do you even know what you're doing, man? And I completely looked past it because I wanted to see if I can induce even more stress in the front of her hip. To induce more stress, I needed to take away her left foot so that she remains in single leg balance the entire time as she demonstrated functional hip extension with both hands up and overhead. And of course, I got nothing at all. And at this point, I am giving up. I reluctantly asked her to just go into long sit-in, and then asked her to lift her left leg up, and then asked her to lift her right leg up to see if I can induce any stress in the front of the hip. Of course, having to do that, I got nothing at all. So at this point, she's sitting down, I'm sitting down hopelessly thinking, and she's looking at me with a blank face. And she's disappointed and she's gutted. And this is when a light bulb came on because my brain stopped laughing at me and decided to work with me. Mostly because as much as we fight each other, we don't like to disappoint anyone standing in front of us. Okay, now listen to this. My brain said, why don't you check her glute strength at a different angle? Perhaps the angle that may have worsened her symptoms in the first place. Genius. And I'm like, you're onto something here. So I tell her, all right, girl, get up. Okay, I didn't say it like that. I was like, all right, woman, get up. Told her to get into a wide stance. Then I asked her to shift her weight onto her left side to get into a lateral lunge. I asked her to hold this for a bit, and of course she does this no problem at all. At this point, I take a deep breath and I tell her, shift your weight onto your right side, keeping your knees right above the ankles, and hold for a bit. A few seconds into it, I start to notice that her right glute was starting to tremor and her whole thigh was getting into a tremor. I'm not gonna lie, my heart rate starts to slow down and I start to crack a smile. After she noticed that we may have found something to go after, she started to crack a smile too. And she said, Manny, I'm struggling to hold this position on this side, but the left side feels easy and I could do this on the left side all day. So for Kelly's exercise, and for your exercise, if this is appropriate for you after you go through this testing, I had Kelly get into a wide stance, but not as wide as the testing position, just wide enough to challenge her right glute. And then she got into right lateral weight shift to get into a right lateral squat here, making sure to keep her knee right above the ankle to make this as glute dominant as possible. I had her do this for about 10 repetitions for home, holding for about 5 to 10 seconds at a time. For her progression, I asked her to get into a similar exercising position and then had her tap her left foot off and on the ground to induce a bit more challenge to her stability as she's in this position. And I asked her to do this for about 10 repetitions for 1 or 2 sets. A week after doing the exercise, she told me that the hip is feeling better. And then the second week, she mentioned that it is feeling 100% and that the exercise is getting easier. That's what I love to hear. Hopefully that's all you need to do to fix the front of your hip pain if you found similar results to the testing position that I put Kelly in. I would appreciate a like if you found this helpful, and thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that.